Hello.
Good morning.
Still got to fade that out.
That video doesn't fade out very well, I know.
No, I'll work on that.
How are you doing?
Dun dun. I had so wild dreams. Oh my gosh.
You did? Yeah, me too the other night. A lot of people have been saying that there was something wacky about this full moon. I think I rarely dream. When I was a kid, I used to have precognitive dreams.
Okay.
As an adult, I rarely dream, but like I dreamt like 4 different things the other night on the full moon. It was wild.
Really?
And other people said the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did the session with Anik, and it was like part of it was my Neptune was in this like it wasn't a house, but this sign I didn't even I've never even heard of. This 13 sign.
Ophiuchus or something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna try to say it.
Yeah.
And Ophiuchus. And then so the suggestion was that I dream, and because I guess Neptune's dreaming, and so
Right.
dream and pull it out, right? And so I told her, I go, well, I do like massive amounts of edibles every night, so I don't dream. Like, do you know that about that? Like, you just don't dream. And so like if you go sober for a while, it's just like right away, and they're too much. And so that's what last night was. I was hoping for like symbols, because she goes, oh, I asked for symbols, and I was like, that's great. I love that idea. I love that. No symbols, just violence, just pure violence. It was scary. But yeah, that's just, I don't know. I might have to go through a few steps of a few days of staying sober.
Yeah.
Well, the processing too, but the sobriety for that, like, it wipes out your dreams. You don't think about it until you take a week off.
And you find that you don't sleep as well?
I definitely don't sleep well. I mean, the stats are fine. Like they show up fine. Like my watch monitors all that stuff. But
yeah,
I heard that in reality, if you're drinking or if you're cannabis or whatever, it pretty much wipes out like your good sleep. You're not getting the best of what you should. But I like taking edibles. What am I gonna do?
And you had a good session with Anik.
Dude, that was so good. Oh my gosh.
And I'll fill everybody in. Welcome, guys, to today's call. We got 27 people so far, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Nick's hired Anik to do a true sidereal astrology report, and they reviewed it on Monday on a Zoom call. So what was your take on that?
She was awesome, for one. And it was like she gave me like a 12-page sheet of like, that was wild.
Yeah. It's crazy how detailed it gets, right? And I mean, our House of Expansion mastery students or our multidimensionality program students that are here. When I ran that program, she did that blueprint for everybody that signed up for that program. Wow. So everybody had their soul essence blueprint. So they all know how powerful it is.
Yeah. I mean, I paid for it. It was everything. It was well worth it. But yeah, it was like just so detailed, and like, how do you the voodoo is what pops in my head. It was like, how how is all that just within?
Yeah, and it's evidence that there's so much more to reality beyond what's in our human mind perception, right? Like, how is it that by looking at the stars and the constellations and all this crap, that it's not crap, by the way. How is it that looking at all of this stuff
Yeah.
can create a report that says, oh yeah, Nick, this is your mission, these are your codes, and it describes you to a T, right?
It did.
And I think it's so valuable because when you look at this report, if half the report isn't what you're focused on or what you're looking at in your reality, then it's a sign that there's maybe some calibration for you to do. Or if it's, one of the aspects that she talks about are the obstacles and the challenges. She calls them initiations. So when you look at that and you see, oh, okay, these big struggles I had in my life relate to what's on paper here for my initiations. Now it makes sense. Now it almost kind of validates that this is what I'm here to work through, and it kind of makes you feel like you're less of a victim to random circumstance.
Yeah, and then there was so much I didn't even know I didn't know. So for me, it's like a catch-up process to get to this. Like, about officious, what is that? But
Oh,
then,
ficus, yeah.
yes, there you go. I said it wrong. I like, yeah, ficus. But then, and then it's all scary. It's like holding a snake and stuff. I'm like, oh, am I evil? Like, am I deep down evil? I don't know. Maybe I'm evil.
Yeah, maybe you're from some quirky evil planet looking. You're just here to take over the earth.
If I haven't done it yet, and I don't know about this mission, so if that unlocks, everyone gets to go along for the ride.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's not awesome. No, but it's like, it's wild, right? And like the thought of like bringing back information from dreams is very appealing to me. And so I know we've talked about it in the past, like lucid dreaming and stuff. It's been on my radar for the last year, and not enough to do something about it yet, but maybe this is the step.
Yeah, and I mean, how do we all know whether or not we're truly dreaming right now? Like, we don't.
Okay.
Right? I mean, in 5 minutes from now, you might wake up and be a completely different person in a completely different reality and never come back to this one. Like, who knows?
That's great. Okay, now I've got to like go lay down because that's too much.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, your kids probably play Minecraft, right?
Yeah.
So in Minecraft, there's two perspectives. There's the in the game perspective where you're like playing in the world that you're building. And then there's the I don't know what it's called, the creator perspective, where you step out and then you can kind of edit the world in whatever way you want. How do we know that that's not what we're here experiencing right now, just in a more evolved kind of way?
So if that's the case, do you play with that? Like, I mean, do you I want to do some magic then,
Yeah, I mean, but the magic is in the vibrational aspects. So one simple example is, for me this past week, I had the realization that the vibration of ease and the vibration of support are two different vibrations. And in my mind, I was like, oh, if I tune into ease, then the support will show up automatically. But that's not the case. And I'm very good at tuning into ease. So this week I really started playing in the vibration of support and feeling supported, because there was some unsafeties around that I wasn't consciously aware of. And then the deeper I go into the feeling of support, the more synchronicities and magical things I'm experiencing. So this morning, Nick was on the phone with somebody about scheduling a delivery. And then they said they couldn't deliver for a week and a half. And then it was on speakerphone. I walked over and I said something. I don't even remember what I said. And then they replied, they said, oh, that's no problem. I think we can squeeze you in tomorrow. Right. So it's and then this other, this supplement I've been taking for sugar imbalance, which has been absolutely life-changing for me, that also showed up when I started practicing this vibration of being supported. I think a lot of us as humans, we've pinched off that specific vibration. And in doing so, then reality stops providing that support in certain ways. And I think when it comes to creating our reality, Minecraft, you've got a keyboard and a mouse, and it's easy to do. From the human vantage point in these physical bodies, vibration is such a subtle thing that we've not accustomed ourselves to tuning into and tapping into and playing with, because we're so used to being focused on physical.
Well, so let's go into it. How did you practice support? How did you get in that vibration?
I tuned in. So I did. So in the School of Expansion, there's a meditation. It's called the Still Point Meditation,
Okay.
where you go into this meditation and you kind of scan your body for, call it dense energy.
Okay.
And I scanned for feelings of unsupport. I then
Hmm.
felt them, expanded them, transmuted them, shifted the perspectives around them. And then I've been doing daily meditations where I spend as much time as I can grounded into my body and then activating the frequency of support.
Okay. So is it important to look at those areas where you feel like it's pinched off and then you release those first?
Yeah, I mean, so we got like 7 or 8 emails this morning from people asking
Oh, really?
questions. And one person asked the question, Abraham-Hicks says, just get happy. Don't worry
Sure.
about anything and just get happy. And I've said this, I don't know how many times on our calls, but the dominant intent of the Abraham-Hicks work and Esther's dominant intent is upliftment. And yes, they've got books about law of attraction, but like it's easy to say at a theoretical level or at a high level. Yeah, we all know that reality is a reflection of what we're practicing vibrationally. That's I would consider that physics,
Right.
right? In the same way that gravity applies to planet Earth and anything you let go of is going to fall, in the exact same consistent way, whatever you're practicing vibrationally
Mm.
gets reflected back to you in your reality. I don't think there's any way around that. So you can be the happiest person on the planet, but if you're practicing a vibration, a perspective, a belief of I'm not worthy of money,
Mhm.
then you can sing, dance, and throw parties and have fun and be happy all day long. But if you're practicing the perspective and the belief that money is bad and money's not good and I'm not worthy of money, then the money's not going to show up.
Right.
Right? So when I look at society, even people who study Abraham-Hicks and law of attraction, all of these things, and I'm guilty of it too, people are still dominantly focused on how do I fix this by taking action out here rather than what do I need to shift within me, right? And this supplement that I'm taking, like this is the most life-changing supplement I've ever taken. It literally is balancing out my sugars. I'm sleeping better, my digestion is working better. I wake up not hungry in the morning. I've never had that in my entire life. Like it's absolutely changing my reality. And I don't think it would have shown up no matter how hard I would have tried to make it show up
Mm.
until I unclogged that pipe, vibration of support, of allowing support.
Yeah, I think people get tricked, at least I do. I get tricked into thinking that I'm working on the problem by ruminating on it, right? I'm solving it in my head. I'm solving it in my head. I'm solving it in my head. But meanwhile, it just is spinning my wheels. It's stuck. And so instead of allowing and grounding, that's the thing. Like I've been practicing this grounding for however long now. And
Yeah.
that's it, right? Or that's part of it to get me out of that funk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a big problem, like the not a big problem, but like Thanksgiving last Thursday and stuff. It was went over to my wife's family, and there was like my brother-in-law had all this bad news, and I don't handle it well. Like I don't. I'm not dismissive, but I'm dismissive.
Yeah.
Like I know in the same way that like everything's gonna work out. I know everything's gonna work out. Like I feel like I've seen the end of this movie. And so specifically it was they had just had a miscarriage. And it was early in the pregnancy, like they had just found out. But to me, I
Yeah.
was dismissive about it because y- I was telling my wife last night, like that I became a father when she had our first baby. Like I became a father then. Like that whole 9 months was very important for her. So I and so I wasn't connecting with him vibrationally. He was this was his baby.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I felt really bad. And like I keep feeling bad about it. And I keep grounding and then it pops up. It keep the
Yeah.
and I want to replay the conversation, and I want to do everything right or be better from here on out. I want to connect with people better because I feel bad. Like I hurt someone and I didn't mean to hurt them. And so it just all around felt bad.
Yeah. So I would say like, and I'm going to go general here to talk about, the mechanism of emotions in general. And it's interesting because we're in a weird time right now. There's a lot of like big contrast that's happening for a lot of people, like sudden, unexpected. Like this week, we found out that my daughter's school might be shutting down because they fired 2 teachers.
Oh,
Like just weird, unexpected, like, what I would consider big stuff.
sure.
But when it comes to emotions, like every circumstance in our reality is there. And when I talk about circumstance, I'm talking about the ones that trigger the negative emotions.
Sure.
They're there to show us where we're giving our power away.
Okay.
It's there to help me heal, right? Because if something is triggering a negative emotion, then it's something we're practicing resistance towards,
Yeah.
right? And if we're practicing resistance due to that thing, then we are pinching off part of our connection to source.
Okay. So go into it more because I'm not connecting with it just yet because it almost feels like I don't even know how to convey the emotion, but like I feel guilty, right? So I guess the guilt is but meanwhile, it feels like I did something wrong. I need to fix what I'm doing wrong instead of somehow like letting go of that and allowing it just feels like a problem I want to fix. Like I'm fixing. It's exactly what you were saying earlier. Like a
So
fixing.
why do you feel like you need to fix it?
Right. And I don't know. And I just wonder why it keeps popping into my head. Why? So at first, like he didn't seem to be showing that much emotion towards it. Like in my eyes, I regretted saying that. Sorry about that. I apologize in the moment. Right.
Yeah.
And then he like left for a while, like with his brother. Like it's a big family. So they took off for a while. And I was just like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I hope that wasn't because of me. Like,
Yeah.
it probably wasn't because who would care about what I say? But like, I hope that wasn't about me. And then the next day or later that night, it was very much about me. Like, he was upset about what I did. And so it just became like, number one, I've never felt like tapped into that to where like the next day I was like, why do I keep feeling bad about that? I don't typically feel bad about things I say. I say wild things all the time and it's just kind of whatever in the house. Um, and why do I keep feeling bad about this? And so like, I hope it wasn't really something I did. Like, I hope he doesn't feel bad. And then it turns out it was. So I feel like I was tapped into that. And now like we've talked it over and I apologized again and all that stuff, but it keeps
Yeah.
popping up. And so am I tapped into something or,
But I love that you said it keeps popping up because typically that's, when I work with somebody on something, it can almost always be traced back to childhood, right? So if you look at this emotion that's coming up for you in this circumstance, see if you can recognize if that specific feeling is or has been present in other aspects of your reality.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's that, if I look at this from a higher level, this was something that your inner being and source orchestrated so that it would give you the opportunity to heal that aspect that, the source calls it has been fragmented. So you can reclaim that part of you that was fragmented through whatever trauma created that feeling in the first place at whatever age you were.
And so you probably would work on it walking forward. Like I know Christmas time, we're going to see him again. And so I'm anticipating that, I'm all will be well. I'm sure the conversation by then won't even come up, but like the rumination of that. Anyway, so if we go through making me better, part of me wants to just dial it back. And I don't feel like that's the right answer for me. I feel like more expression is even better.
So here's what I would do. I would as a healing process, I would meditate, ground.
Yeah.
I would go within. I would find that feeling within myself. I would find the youngest version of me, whether it's a memory or intuitive, where they bought into this feeling.
Okay.
I would soothe that child version of me to a point where it invalidates the negative emotion. And when I say invalidate, makes it kind of irrational. Show them that like they're loved, they're cared for, that it wasn't their fault, whatever it is they need to hear. And then after you do that, go back to what happened. When did you say, on the weekend?
Sure.
Then go back in your mind to that same scenario from the weekend and play it out differently, almost re-imprint it to a place where there's love, there's growth, there's forgiveness. And then you'll see moving forward, more shifts will happen to realign with those, with what you explored in that process.
Okay.
In a positive way.
Yeah, that is a different type of, right? That's not any way that's native to, like, does anyone think that way? I've only thought about like what I'll do different, but that's happening. Basically, you're saying that's going to happen on its own. That's wild.
So Bashar teaches, now we're going deep down the rabbit hole here.
Let's do it.
He teaches that all that exists is the now moment.
Okay. Yes.
So future doesn't exist. Past doesn't exist. And not only does the past not exist, but there are multiple parallel occurrences of what we perceive as the past. So there's a past where you were bullied as a child. There's a past that you were not bullied as a child. Both of those pasts are equally real and valid.
Okay.
Then now, as we change, the versions of pasts that we are connected to change. Oh. In the same way that as we change, the future we're going to step into also changes.
Oh, that's nice.
So when you go back and you heal these aspects of your past, and we'll call it aspects of your past, because from a healing vantage point, your source self is connected to all versions of you. So when you go back to healing these aspects of yourself, you're also healing yourself in the now.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot. I got shifted away from me. I love that.
She says, so she's asking, can you define power? Is it the ability to decide our reality? I would say the need or the desire to decide our reality is actually disempowerment.
Okay.
I would say the strong urge and need to manifest is disempowerment.
Yeah.
A lot of people in this world of law of attraction are giving their power away to the need to circumstances to look and feel a certain way.
Right. It's because it's all around you. You're bombarded by desire, right?
And what you're doing is, the reason anybody wants to manifest anything is to improve on the way they feel in some way.
Right. A change. Make change happen for yourself, right?
So by depending on that external circumstance to change to feel better, you are giving your power away.
Right. And so the better way.
The better way is to just focus on enjoying the ride, on feeling good. And there's nothing wrong with setting intentions. There's nothing wrong with saying, "Ooh, I'd love to have a house on the beach," or "I would love to have a cabin in the mountains." There's nothing wrong with those intentions. Where the stuckness begins to happen is when the way you feel is dictated or dependent on those things.
Okay. Can you share what supplements you're taking?
I'm a little bit worried about talking about that stuff on YouTube. I know somebody who he had a 6-figure monthly supplement business on YouTube.
Yeah.
And because he was talking about his supplements on YouTube, they shut down his YouTube account and his business went to nothing overnight. So I'm a little bit worried that they would maybe, I don't know how severe they are with that stuff, but I'll mention some stuff about it in the Facebook group.
Oh, okay. How do we go to that?
It's just the collective. What's it called? Is it called the collective? I don't even remember what it's called anymore.
Or
One
they
second.
email us on this. Can they email you?
Yeah. If anybody's really interested, send me an email, or I'll mention it quickly on the call tonight, the School of Expansion call, or I'll do a post in the Facebook group.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? Because diet's okay to talk about.
It's really. I've been more and more, and I don't like the word cautious because cautious isn't quite the right word.
No, but that's fine.
More and more selective on what's being said on social media because, my Facebook ads accounts got banned for claiming I was selling adult products and services, which I had
Yeah.
never touched. Right.
I
So,
was
like,
there
the
for
fact
that
that
because we were talking about vibration.
oh, it was so weird. So, and no appeals would work, and they wouldn't listen to me. And so, social media is a great tool, but at the same time, it's still being controlled by these companies. Um, so I've learned through life experience over the last 4 or 5 years that you really need to stay away from certain topics.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, do
health
you know
products
that?
being one of them. And there's some big names. There's big health advocates that I think follows on Instagram and stuff that got their accounts banned, and they share legit, valid, good information. So you got to be a little bit careful with that.
Yeah. So did you know, so YouTube definitely listens into the first 10 minutes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. So if we swear, I said the word edible, I'm sure we're okay there. But if I said another word for it, I'm sure it would,
You'll get flagged.
yeah, I don't know. It's not a big deal. It's just advertisers won't use it.
Yeah.
Everyone has crazy dreams. See, that's tea. Talking about this.
Mighty
Everyone's
Leaf.
talking about what they drink.
So here's one. Hang on, I'm going to pop one on the wall here.
Yep.
So Becky says, "So what is power then? Surrender." I would say power is your connection to source.
Right.
Because when you've truly harnessed that connection, when you've truly blended with your source self, there's no more fear. There's no more. There's just unfolding, and there's magical, delicious. I don't even know how to explain it, but your true power is in the integration of human you and source self you.
Is there, if it works for you, to consider it surrendering to source? Is that an okay thing to do, or is that the
But
wrong way to go about it?
you cannot surrender if you're not also practicing resistance.
Okay. But you assume you're practicing resistance, right? And so you're going to let go of that. Is that,
I mean,
hopefully that's what she means, that I'm going to let go and give in to all this. And
it's like, I'm just going to relax and enjoy my ride.
yeah,
that's the best way to say
it. Okay. Yeah, that's a different spin on it. That's great. Okay. Oh,
as long as I'm not an NPC, I'm not sure. I don't know what an NPC is.
So in the video games where they just walk around, there's like the non-player characters.
Oh yeah.
And they just walk into walls. The idea of being a dream, right?
Well, I would say the human NPCs are the ones that aren't connected to source.
Yeah. Can you clarify that a childhood feeling is valid as actual memory?
Let me see if I can sink that in. Can you clarify that a childhood feeling is as valid as an actual? I mean, I would say
if you said a split,
I would say all feelings are valid and all memories are valid. If your mind is triggered into a memory or being played a memory, or a memory is present, then I would say it's present because that memory is being kind of tied to you because there's something to process there.
Yeah.
Like there's relevance in that memory.
I had never heard about and correct if I'm wrong, but like you're essentially saying like the past could be various versions of you, that it's only just this moment, right? And so reinventing the past or whatever version of that is in your past, that's wild.
And I also find that the more energy work I've done, the more clearing I've done, the more healing I've done, the less I think about the past, or the less memories I have about the past. I think the past memories are only there because they're still relevant in some way.
Yeah. So and Nick said something interesting on the call with me. Then it was like she was saying that she was compassionate towards that. She wouldn't dwell on that past. I didn't talk to her about the conversation I had, but like it kind of came up. She brought it up on her own, which is always fun without me doing anything. But so forgiveness, like forgiving myself in any conversation. And maybe she was just talking about the podcast, knowing that we talk on the podcast, but leaving that conversation instead of chastising yourself, which I had just been doing, you know, uh, that was the perfect conversation. That was exactly what needed to happen at the time, and blah, 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 all good things like that. But she said that, so I brought up like, what happens if like there's problem, like you keep replaying a memory or something. She said that she's compassionate towards that. She's that it's not it's not reality. It's maybe a past, like you said, childhood thing, and gives it love and understands it and doesn't plan her day based around it.
Yeah, and to show love and compassion towards that version of you who's having that experience.
Even the fact that like any negative emotion, whether it's valid or not, or past or not, that it could just be like that she'd give it a hug. I'm like, that's cool. That's really neat. You've heard it all too much. I mean, this is really powerful stuff. You're jaded from it.
I mean, the name of the game as humans is finding our power and reconnecting to source, right? And expansion, and you do that through the healing of the fragmented parts of ourselves, which is what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I got to listen back to all of it because it felt like I was in a daze while you were giving all that. But I mean, it's so true. It's the truth. Offering compassion towards that version of ourselves is what she said. Most people were talking about tea, so I'm looking for more questions. We need more questions. Define source. How about this?
Let's I can go back and load up our
I got it. No, I looked through them all.
Okay.
Define source.
Source, I would say the non-physical, unconditionally loving, infinite, intelligent aspect of you.
Okay, now say it in less words.
I mean, people will use the term God. I don't like the term God because it makes it seem like it's something external to you, which is not.
I wonder how many people feel that way. I feel God within.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on upbringing. I think a lot of religions portray God as an external entity who controls the universe and decides whether you're right or wrong or damned to hell or whatever. And that analogy is so wrong and so bad that I don't like the word. Not that I don't like the word God.
Yeah.
It's not about the word, but it's about the meaning behind the word or the interpretation of the word. So because a lot of people do interpret God in that way, I tend to stick to source.
Do you feel like a connection with all of humanity? Do you feel like a oneness, like a non-duality type thing?
Most of the time, I can definitely tune into it at a conscious level when I desire it.
Right. Someone cutting you off kind of makes you.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we're still human. Humans having a human experience, so it's hard to ignore that aspect of ourselves directly. I do have compassion and unconditional love towards everyone, and it's always there. It's easily accessible. But I also understand that we also come here for the experience of polarity, which is not an easy journey. I mean, we're here for the contrast.
Yes, right. Especially like you said, understanding it consciously, but then you got that like lizard part of you that's the fun thing about those dreams. It's all about giving ourselves compassion.
Totally.
Congratulations on your 10th episode. I didn't know. This is 10 episodes.
Number 10.
Been watching since day one. In fact, I first discovered Nick on an interview he did with me. Oh,
Awesome.
for the animated Abraham.
And that channel's gone now, right? Abraham-Hicks shut that down on you.
Hey, my ripple continues. It's all
There
my
you go.
animations.
There you go.
Yeah, someone was at the gym. They were asking about what I did, and I kind of went into the whole thing. And I'm still a YouTuber in my eyes. Okay,
Good.
I am.
I like
And so, right, and so I without like giving him my specific channel, I told him the thing, and he actually went and looked, and he's like, "Oh wow, all these." I'm like, "Yeah, those are mine too. Those are just as my babies as they are theirs.
Yeah, that's
The
totally
games for
true.
me."
Totally true.
The Bashar you mentioned is channeled by Daryl Anka? Question
Yeah.
mark? Okay.
And I haven't listened to Bashar in years. He used to be more focused on spirituality. Now it's more on first contact and aliens,
Oh,
which to me is less appealing. I think that's another form of people giving their power away, is they're expecting aliens to show up on planet Earth to save us all, and that's not the deal.
I've been staying out of the news for quite a while now, but like there's stuff that keeps popping up about UFOs lately. I wonder if something's going on. So if someone knows
Maybe.
anything, yeah, not a big deal.
I mean,
Dude, it would be cool if you saw like ships. That would be cool.
yeah, but the way I see it is most aliens
Yeah.
are species that are quasi physical, meaning they're in the spiritual dimension, just like our source selves, as much as maybe the physical dimension. So, like, I think we've been interacting with aliens through channeling for a long time already. So, whether you're having a conversation with them through a channel or over a phone or in person, I don't think it's very different. So, I would say we're already in contact with off-planet entities.
So when did his shift happen? Like I
There
always
were-
felt like it was very much, yeah,
it was, but I felt like over the years it's just gotten more and more.
to the point where there's like no spiritual aspect to it at all, is what you're saying, or no
I
like
think there's
personal
some,
growth?
I think there's still some. I haven't tuned in for a few
Oh, okay.
years.
Oh, okay.
My favorite channels, I would say, in order from most to least favorite, would be Anik.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that just because we sleep in the same bed. Like, literally, she's the one that provides the most valuable channel data. I would then say Elon, which was channeled by a guy named Andrew. I forgot his last name, Bayek, something like that. He hasn't channeled in like 30 years, I think 20, 30 years. And then I would say third would be Abraham-Hicks.
Oh, okay. I'm putting you in that list. I know you don't like call it that, but I'd be surprised if you're not just channeling this whole time.
Yeah, I am. And you can tell when I do School of Expansion or live calls that when somebody asks a question, rarely do I go,
Right. Ever.
because the answer just flows. Only once have I ever channeled in this Abraham-Hicks way or the Anik way, consciously checked out.
Okay. So you actually did it one time?
Yeah, and it wasn't even like on purpose. So it was like
Oh,
I was talking on a call, and all of a sudden, like, the words were coming faster than I could speak them.
cool.
And it's like I was kind of looking in a different direction, like accessing the data from somewhere else, which was neat.
Yeah, anything to come from that, or did it just get garbled?
No, it was the same information, like
Right.
more good information, just maybe spoken a little bit quicker.
Wow. Oh my gosh, there's a lot. Okay. A quote I like is pain is a wonderful teacher, but it doesn't have to be your mentor. Can you talk about why people become addicted to their pain and remain committed to learning through contrast?
I think so. This could go in a lot of different directions.
Okay.
Read it one more time and read it slower.
All right. Can you talk about why people become addicted to pain and remain committed to learning through contrast?
I think I don't think people are addicted to pain. I think they feel comfort in pain because it's familiar.
Okay.
So I think for some people, there's comfort in the familiar, and what's on the other side of a door, even if it's being pain free, is still more scary than what's familiar. So I think that's what I would consider, or one scenario around the addicted to pain. It reminds me of secondary gain, where if you break your leg and you don't have to go to work and you'd rather stay home with a broken leg, then it's more advantageous to have a broken leg than to not have a broken leg.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Are some feelings or emotions stronger than others? Is there like varying degrees? Like for me, like if pain, it's more immediate, right? Or even something as simple as hunger. When it's there, it's more immediate and it's more pressing than happiness.
I don't think one emotion is necessarily stronger than another. I think as humans, we tune into the different depths of every emotion. So I think every emotion goes, if you take love and hate as two ends of a stick,
Yeah.
I think that stick goes infinitely in both directions. And you can go infinitely deep into hate in the same way you can go infinitely deep into love.
Okay. Yeah, I almost wondered if that was it. Like if there's like a pressing pain, never mind physical, but like if that would just be more, you have to look at it more.
I mean, pain is there to be looked at.
Okay.
But we also need to remember that no emotion is invalid, whether it's on the positive or negative end of the spectrum.
Okay.
So once in a while, I'll see, healers or coaches post, we need to heal the planet. We need to save the planet. And it's your responsibility to do your work so we can heal the planet.
Okay.
Right? The men need to come out and join together and start practicing more spiritual stuff so we can heal the planet. And my response to those posts is, everybody's here for their own exploration, and how dare you put the pressure on those people's shoulders that they need to be a certain way to match your agenda, even if it is a positive agenda. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I can't imagine why that would matter. Wouldn't you want infinite possibilities?
Yeah. And everybody's here to explore different things. If somebody wants to tune into the depths of anger, they have the right to do that. It's their exploration.
But you just wouldn't call it addiction. You wouldn't say it's addiction to that thing. It's just maybe that person's path.
Yeah.
But it can be changed, right? If you feel a desire to change it.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts on a morning routine for the first moment you wake up? Take you from whoa, to wow, this is an amazing day. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the Abraham-Hicks guidance scale. Like she says, like the purpose of the guidance scale is because you can't go from the bottom of the scale to the top of the scale in one jump, right? So I think it's about honoring where you're at, being honest with where you're at, and then working your way up the scale from there.
So if she does feel like all those expletives,
then they are there because there's something to process, something to heal. People seem to forget that emotions are a guidance system.
Right.
So if I feel angry, it's because there's a belief in a story that I'm telling that's fueling the anger, that's showing me that I'm giving my power away in some way. Okay. Abraham-Hicks makes it sound like it's a game of get out of those negative emotions.
Yeah.
Which is fine if you want to feel uplifted in the moment. But the path to real expansion and real empowerment is by being open and honest with yourself with what you're feeling, and then allowing yourself to process that.
Yeah. Thanks for the clarification about Bashar. I'm in the same word with God, only because it carries so much attachment to my organized religion. Yeah, and see, I think that's it, right? If you had a negative thing towards a child as a child,
yeah,
how do you escape that?
Yeah, especially around religion. It's like, I'm running a full day seminar next week, and it's called what's it called? Integrating the pillars to source, or integrating your connection to the divine, something like that. And I'm sure people who read that, who have no idea about any of the spiritual stuff, think it's totally a religious based thing.
Oh, interesting. Like to the point where you're considering changing the name, or
no, I wouldn't change the name
okay.
because of it. But,
okay.
But people are unaware that like you can talk about your connection to source without tying it to religion.
Yeah. So in my house, or with her family, she's very religious, and my parents are, and I just never felt that until 30 years old, I think. But so it was like, you can have it like, I have a completely different perspective than I did. Like it could shift and you can be back in love with the word God, or you or not, or whatever. Same with source, or what about like gratitude, like the word gratitude or being thankful? I think some people like load that up, it becomes a loaded word and they have a negative connotation to it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
So
change the word.
somebody sent an email, I think yesterday or this morning, asking for processes. So here's, I'm going to throw a process at you guys.
Okay.
One of my favorite processes is not to practice gratitude, not to practice appreciation. It's to practice I love you.
Okay.
So it's like, ooh, I love you, delicious cup of coffee.
Mm.
Right. So think of those three statements. So see if you can notice how light you feel when you say, I'm grateful for this cup of coffee.
Right.
I appreciate this cup of coffee. That kind of like goes up an octave. And then like, oh, I love you, this beautiful cup of coffee. Right. So like something I used to do, I haven't done it recently, is I would just walk around the kitchen and be like, oh, I love you, coffee machine, and oh, I love you, cat, or oh, I love you, sandy beach, or salty air, or just walking around, not saying I appreciate you, but I love you. And that really ramps up that vibe.
It's the highest. That'd be the highest. Do you go to the supermarket and do that? That'd be great.
Yeah. I mean,
Say it
there's no
out
reason
loud to
why you
people.
can't.
No. I'm just curious if you did, if you
Yeah,
like
then if you
really
did,
did it outside the house.
cops might start pretty quick if you start walking around telling strangers you love them.
Watch The Creator on Nick's recommendation. Love the movie. I've never thought AI would make me cry, but it did. Yeah, more movie suggestions, not from my end. I was watching The Thing.
I'm watching. Nick and I started watching Ted Lasso now, which
yeah. What do you think?
those writers know what they're doing. They really. I've never seen a show that's so good at like being funny, but also pulling at like emotions at the same time. It's really well
really?
done. Highly recommended. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, everyone's thanking for clarification. Nice. No more questions. All done with the questions. Everyone's
Cool.
better now.
So do you still listen to much Abraham-Hicks?
No.
No.
And I would like to, like, especially the Abraham Now stuff. I'd be curious. Or even I assume she's still touring.
Oh yeah, she's still touring. What I miss most is the cruises. Like I would love to do another cruise. What I love about the Abe cruises is just all the amazing people. I wonder how many people on this call would love to just hop on a cruise with or without Abraham-Hicks. Maybe even we get a Nick to channel instead. We run our own cruise with Anik, who channels, in my opinion, even better than Abraham-Hicks. Spending a week in, where do we go? Caribbean, Hawaii, Mediterranean.
Yeah, it depends on what time of the year, right?
Definitely wintertime.
Yeah. Yeah, I won't want an Alaskan, because they probably don't do their Alaskan cruises in the.
Yeah. That's usually like in July.
Okay, we got a yes. We got a yes.
Well, maybe we'll have to look into planning that.
Oops, that's just Ted Lasso. I would absolutely love. I saw Capital Love, but it was about Ted Lasso.
Yeah, we know Dave loves Anik too.
Yes. Oh,
yes, that's good. Maybe we'll have to look into putting that into our intention bucket.
Yeah. Do you ever think about like doing touring?
I mean, I've done seminars in Europe. It's got its pros and its cons. When we went to Abraham-Hicks in May last year, the travel was really unpleasant. We got sick. It wasn't as flowy as it used to be, which kind of dampens the excitement a little bit. But getting together with high vibe people in person, of course, is always top notch.
How long do you go? How long is the whole thing?
The Abe cruises?
Sure.
Or Abe cruises, sure. I think the longest we did was like 12 days. The shorter ones are 7 days. 7, I feel short. I find 10 to 12 is like the sweet spot.
Really? See, they were talking about this over the weekend too. Like people were talking about like 2-week vacations. I just never. Okay, so what happens?
I think it takes, but I think it takes people a good couple of days to just like unplug. So
Okay.
like it takes a day to travel, and then even when you go to like an all-inclusive resort, it takes a couple of days before you really like settle in.
So would you find that the questions with an Abe cruise would get different? They'd get progressively different from day 1 to day 4?
No, it's
I just
a
wondered if
mix.
the unplugging or
Yeah, it's usually a mix. You sometimes they would have days where it would only be men in the hot seat. Sometimes
oh,
they'd have days where it was only women in the hot seat. I was almost always in the hot seat, like second or third, almost always second actually. In Amsterdam last May, I was I think third in the hot seat. Um, so there's definitely a flow of the unfolding, um, but I wouldn't say there's like a consistent formula.
do you have all your clips, all your questions from it?
I used to have them saved as YouTube links,
Yeah.
um,
They wiped those out.
but now they're wiping them all
They
out.
wiped them
So
all out.
yeah,
Yeah, I stumbled across you a few times.
yeah, I get emails from people once in a while saying, "Oh, Nick, I just heard you on YouTube," or people posted in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
So here's a question for everybody: cruise or all-inclusive resort?
Okay.
Let's see what people think. What people prefer. I find the experience is better on the cruise ships, but only on like the new cruise ships.
Oh, why? Because it's just dilapidated, the other ones?
It's just one of the Abraham-Hicks cruises was on the Celebrity Edge,
Okay, I don't know.
and it was like one of the newer boats. And then like the other boats are like, I don't know, probably 20 years or more outdated. So when you get on this brand new boat, and then the next cruise again was another one of the older ships, it just felt like it was like a step down.
Resort.
Yeah, and then
Resort. Oh,
I
we got
think
more
resorts are a
cruise.
little bit easier.
Okay, I'm seeing like what's 7-3. How about I saw this. She took insane notes on the cruise. Can you tell me about this? What's going
Oh
on?
yeah, I think is probably the most organized person I've
Uh,
ever met. She's an insanely good note taker. She probably fills out like 5 journals a year. She's always like processing, writing, taking notes.
mm.
Um, it's awesome because I just get to sit next to her, so I get to go play in the hot seat, and she writes everything down.
You can review later. Yeah, so when I would animate, it was a weird thing because I I would animate in sections, like I'd lock on to a section.
Yeah,
My wife would pick the segment. It had lots of laughs or it had whatever she was connected to. And then I would just start little by little carving out sections. And I actually never even heard the full thing until the end. Like I was just processing little bites. And
yeah.
so it was an interesting thing. Like I was almost channeling the whole process, and like I had no idea what I was even making until it was done. I've never experienced that in any other way. Maybe book stuff, writing books, right? But
You've written one, 2 books, one.
I had 3, but it was like they were all experiments just to see if you could do it. Your mic's going out. Yeah, it was the thing where I wanted to get out of a job, so I wrote books to see if it would make any money. YouTube pays
And
a lot more than books, but
are they still on Amazon?
no, I got rid of them.
Took them off.
They were all little pamphlets anyway. Like they weren't. I think 80 pages, 100 pages. They're little,
Okay,
getting jacked. Oh, I need to let
because you
that
put
get jacked.
yeah, your books were out, but I think your book was out before mine was.
Yeah, yeah. It's just all about exploration. Having fun.
That's the name of the game.
Right? Everyone wants to write a book, so do it.
And think about all the time that everybody's wasting trying to manifest when they could just be busy having fun.
Hey, she said my book was awesome.
Yeah,
It was all
then
about working out 12 minutes. That's my workout was 12 minutes long. That's it. That's all I was giving myself.
and you did it for how long?
It was only like 6 months. No, I mean it was
Okay.
it was probably closer to like 3 months. The biggest results were in the first 3 months. But it was all just what can I do without spending a dime? So it was all body weight stuff. It was great. It was
Yep.
fun because I don't want to, it's too easy to go somewhere and want to do it at home.
Yeah,
That's
I'm the
even
same way.
better. Yeah. And so it was all fat burning stuff, burn off a ton of fat.
Cool.
Okay. Listen, they're in. They want it.
Well, awesome. Maybe we'll start exploring some options.
Ritz-Carlton cruises? What's that?
Yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of that before.
Pricey?
Probably.
How you feeling? Exhausted?
Me?
Yeah, a little.
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
It's like you're getting a little more tired.
Yeah, I'm like, my coffee's not quite as potent as it usually is today.
I've got all the energy for the two of us. I'll bring it.
Good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Maybe I should take days off of edibles more often. I definitely woke up feeling different.
Yeah.
I haven't drank for so long, but it's like all this other stuff. I love it. I love it.
I'm excited for a channeling call this afternoon. I think it's going to be a good one.
Is it live?
Yeah, it's live with Nick, so it'll be live channel hot seats.
What time's that?
Usual School of Expansion time, 3:00 Eastern.
Okay. Do you have an advice for how to finish the year, December vibe source downloads wise?
I think the downloads are always happening, so just relax and let them flow.
People want extra. I actually thank you a lot for the process. I didn't expect it like a kind of a process earlier, because I think that a lot of the answer is very simple, and so it doesn't need to be. But so but it is kind of fun to hear, like, and I feel like you dove into like, actually, here's a real thought, how you go back into the childhood. I don't know. I felt like that was interesting. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I've actually got 3 seminars planned out. If you go to events.nickbreau.com, you can see them. And one of them is a full day seminar just on processing emotions, just on feeling out, learning how to really tune into yourself and feel out what's there, and different tools and processes you can use to transmute it.
Is it a thing you're doing online, or is it you're doing in front of people?
That'll be a live one. So the intention in these seminars is for me to run them all once or twice in front of people, and then to license those seminars so that other facilitators can offer them in their own cities.
That's cool. That's cool. Hey, listen, that's been an hour. I'm good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. What are you going to do for the rest of today?
Say I love you to things.
There you go.
I really will. Why not? That sounds fun.
Absolutely.
I would be curious if everyone else does that,
Yeah.
Like I hope that everyone takes your advice, because it's so good that it's changed me.
I think a lot of people just often discount it because it's so simple. It's like, people want the complicated thing that feels. I think the mind associates complexity with results. People seem to think that the more complicated something is, or the more groundbreaking it is, the more odds of it being successful or succeeding. And when it comes to all the spiritual stuff, it's actually the opposite. That's the case.
Yeah, for me, I think there's a lot of to do about it. Like, okay, I got to set aside time to go and do all that stuff. The I love you thing sounds flippant, and I can just do it, and I can do it, and I can do it when I think about it. That sounds great.
Totally.
That's the best.
Super easy. Loving your reality is the key to a lovely reality. Simple but true.
Thanks, guys. I love us.
Awesome. So we'll see you all next time. And for our School of Expansion students, we'll see you on the channeling call later today. And if you're not a School of Expansion student, go to my website, get on it, nickbreau.com.
See ya. See you in a few hours.
Bye. Later.